In today's video, we're gonna build a DIY cockpit so we can fly our RC airplanes just like you fly a real airplane.
So here's the idea, guys, because this is in my head and I want to get it out of my head, but I want to recreate something I saw from a long time ago. Do you remember Howard Hughes sitting on the edge of the beach and he has like this crazy simulator throttle quadrant and like there's a big model of the spruce goose like racing across the beachhead? He just had like a yoke, he had like the throttle quadrants, instrumentation, and like there's this like 12-foot spruce goose looking thing just like driving by him and a big antenna in the air and everything. And I thought how cool would it be to take a busted transmitter and start the journey of actually creating our own simulator. So you know how cool the DJI goggles are? Mm-hmm. Take a DJI goggle set, make a control set. So basically, this is round one. I know it's not gonna be an A grade, I promise you, but make a control set so basically we can see how hard it is and wiring this up to make it like literally a flying FPV full-blown airplane wearing the goggles, okay? And the whole goal will be at the end of the day, Ready-Made RC Runway, to literally have this featured at Ready-Made RC Runway. So when we have these big events, we're like, hey, climb in the cockpit and then like go fly around Edgewater. I want people to want to come here to have an experience, not just say, oh wow, there's the battleship that flew. I want them to actually like build something for them to experience. You guys game?
I'm game.
Okay, look, there, go. We'll figure it out.
Okay, so if you guys didn't catch that, basically what we're gonna be doing today is we are going to be taking common materials and we're gonna make a FPV cockpit that you can sit in and fly with an actual stick and a throttle just like a real airplane. So a lot of the inspiration from this for Josh and also for me is this iconic photo of Howard Hughes. Now for those of you guys that aren't familiar with Howard Hughes, he's known for a lot of things such as he's a business magnate, he's an investor, he's an engineer, he's a film director, he's a philanthropist, but we all know and love him because he is basically just a boss of aviation. Long story short is he founded the Hughes Aircraft Company in 1932. He went on to set multiple airspeed records. He built the H-1 Racer, which is arguably the most beautiful plane ever. And then later he went on to build the Spruce Goose. And if you guys aren't familiar with the Spruce Goose, it is one of the most awe-inspiring, impressive aircraft ever built in my opinion. It has a larger wingspan than a 747 or A380. It weighed 300,000 pounds and it was powered by 8 28-cylinder 3,000 horsepower engines. If you do the math, that's 24,000 horsepower. As you can imagine, back in the day, nobody thought this giant wooden airplane would fly, but Howard Hughes knew that it would fly because he did a prototype testing just like we always do in small scale. Now, it wasn't until one fateful day in November in 1947 when Howard said he was gonna take the real Spruce Goose out for a taxi test, and he actually ended up bringing it up to speed and hopping it off the water. And unfortunately, that was the only time the thing ever took flight because it was originally designed for the war effort, and the war by that time was coming to an end. The good news is that the Spruce Goose is still in pristine condition and you can still go see it today, which is pretty awesome. But today we have a DIY FPV RC cockpit at hand and we have a lot of work ahead of us, so let's get to work.
So rather than grabbing a chair or building a chair that maybe some people fit in really well and other people's won't, I'm gonna go ahead and use my Secret Labs chair. And the reason I like that is because everything on the Secret Labs chair is adjustable. And it's been really handy so I can lower it down, I can raise it up, I can tilt it back. And also for the throttle quadrant, everyone's arms kind of sit a little bit different. I'll be able to raise this up and down and also save a ton of time and not have to build it.
Okay, now, so for those of you guys who may not be familiar with the hobby or just electronics in general, this is what we're gonna be using today. This is just a standard RC transmitter. Now you can get into model numbers and all the different features and capabilities, and they can get a little bit overwhelming, but the general principle of a transmitter is pretty simple. It basically takes your inputs on the sticks and it transmits it to the receiver on the aircraft, and the aircraft will translate that to movement on the control surfaces. Long story short is we have a bunch of these. We've broken a lot of them, and the components in a lot of them are still good. We're gonna take a broken one of these, kind of take it apart, assess. We need to figure out how to make the stick, how to make a throttle, and how to make a rudder.
So to make the rudder pedals, I went ahead and pulled some measurements off of my kit Fox here to get the proper spacing and the height. That's gonna fit really nice on your feet. I wanted to make sure we use some simple common materials, and PVC I think for this project is gonna be perfect. So my son and I ran to Ace Hardware, picked up a whole length of PVC pipes of 90-degree angles and some T-brackets, and that way we could recreate those rudder pedals and then screw them directly to our plywood board to be able to work back and forth.
All right, so before we get any further in this build, I wanted to take the time to thank our sponsor for this video, and that is none other than our good friends at Dollar Shave Club. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with Dollar Shave Club has you covered for all your grooming needs. So what I have right here is Dollar Shave Club sent me their Ultimate Shave Starter Kit. You're gonna have a premium quality shaving razor handle, but not just any razor handle. This is the executive razor handle. Beyond the premium quality executive handle, you're also gonna get top-notch razor blades to match. These ones specifically have 6 blades in one, which is gonna make it for a better, superior shaving experience. You're also gonna get a couple bottles of different shaving products, the first of which is Dr. Carver's mandatory prep scrub, because you gotta prep before you shave. Beyond that, you have disappearing post-shave dew. Get a little dew to wrap up the shaving experience. Also, on top of that, you have Dr. Carver's Easy Shave Butter. And it's like butter on a biscuit when you put it on your cheeks, I'm not gonna lie about it. And it really helps improve the shaving experience. Beyond that, we also got Dr. Carver's Magnanimous Post-Shave Cream. And this is gonna allow you to get a rich and soothing finish on the old cheeks, which is important. So here's the best part about all this is you can visit dollarshaveclub.com/Flite Test and you're gonna get the Ultimate Shave Starter Kit like this one right here for $5. And beyond that, you can round out your grooming needs by adding any other product that you need to that order as well. From there, the restock boxes will ship with full-sized, regularly priced products. So again, that's dollarshaveclub.com/Flite Test, and huge shout out to Dollar Shave Club for sponsoring this video. It's because of them and also you guys watching that we're here making these project videos for you guys, so we cannot be thankful enough. We got a project to do. Let's get back in there and see how it's coming.
So now that the rudder pedals are done and working pretty good, I'm gonna go ahead and work on the throttle quadrant. Now, the throttle quadrant is one of my favorite parts of every airplane because it's really important to make sure that your hand just naturally rests right around neutral throttle. So that way you can pull all the way back and have idle, all the way forward and have full throttle without it feeling awkward here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build something that can go around my office chair and be able to strap that in. Along with that, I'm also gonna be putting the mode switches on so I can switch modes from like level assist or acro mode or low rates with the tips of my fingers here.
So next up is one of the most important parts in my opinion, and that is the control stick, which is gonna control your roll and your pitch. So what Josh and Noah are doing right now is they took apart the right gimbal out of the transmitter, and they're going to be using that coupled with a long carbon fiber tube to hopefully mimic a control stick from a real airplane. So as you can see, what they did is they laser cut a specifically designed bracket for the gimbal to fit into, and what that's gonna allow them to do is fit it into a hole that they cut in the milk crate, and from there you can basically just zip tie it on. And as you can see, the height of the milk crate coupled with that carbon fiber tube, it gives it that perfect height. So it looks like it's gonna feel just like a real aircraft stick.
So we have all the main components of our cockpit here. We have our throttle quadrant, we have our rudder pedals, we have our control stick, and we even have our mode switches. But what we need to do now is go ahead and make sure it's universal for everybody that's gonna be flying this now and also into the future. So we had our teammates all sit in this, and I kind of marked out where everything needs to go to get a general feel where we can make sure that everyone's feet meet the rudder pedals, everyone's hands go on the throttle quadrant, and the stick feels comfortable and you have full throw. This is really important not only for this cockpit, but also for general aviation. It's a common practice that they do. So now that we have those measurements and we have an idea of what we need to do, I'm gonna go ahead and cut out a piece of plywood. I'm gonna mount everything down on the plywood, and then we're gonna go ahead and see how it works.
Updated throttle quadrant.
Updated throttle quadrant. Do you remember when you were sitting down and we were talking about like the throws of how this didn't feel right?
Yeah.
It just was kind of haunting me. So went ahead and kind of changed things around. Instead of the throttle stick being mounted to the actual stick, which was really kind of weak this way, it didn't also have the throw that was the full throttle quadrant. And you really noticed that too. It was just too long, not enough throw. So what I did is here, I went ahead and I redrew this. I actually made this so I had it adjustable on both ends. So what I can do is I can change how much this potentiometer moves back and forth. This doesn't actually have a lot of throw on the potentiometer, but for the throttle quadrant, I want to have that full swing. So I have it very close to the pivot point here and very far away here, which gives me a lot of throw on my throttle quadrant, but very little throw on my potentiometer.
That's awesome, man.
And it's also, it's not gonna brake. And while I was at it, I was thinking, if I'm flying this thing and I have my hand on the throttle quad, just like a real airplane, I want to be able to switch mode switches easily, just with the tips of my finger. So I went ahead and I moved my mode switches, just like in a real airplane. So everything's accessible that's important, you know, by the component you're using. So I don't have to remove my hand and then change modes. Should be cool. So yeah, we're gonna mount this, and then I'm on to the rudder pedals, which is frankly the thing I'm most nervous about.
So as you can see, most of the work on the throttle quadrant is done, and the way they got it set up, it's basically gonna be plug and play. We hooked it up with a servo connector. Now is for the part that I'm personally the most skeptical about, and that is the rudder pedals. So let's go check out how it's coming. All right, dude, this is looking nice.
Thanks. Like my PVC rudder. This would never fly in a real airplane, by the way. I learned a lot from the throttle quadrant here, and I was really struggling. Originally, I was gonna just glue the pot on here, but then my throw would only be about right here. Well, what I want is a lot of resolution in my rudder pedals. Typically, when you're flying, you're not using a lot of rudder, but I want to be able to just really pin this to get that extreme throws if we're doing aerobatics. So now when it moves, again, I can adjust the throws to get that magical distance that I want. There is a key problem. Typically, whenever you push on one rudder, you have a cable that goes back to the rudder belt crank and then comes back up here. And as you push on one, it pulls on the other. And that's how you get your opposing rudder pedals. And on a Pete and Pull air camper and other planes, you have a spring that's always putting tension on those cables in the front.
So the rudder pedals are assembled and actually working, but what they're working on right now is figuring out a way to give them a little bit of resistance so it feels like the rudder pedals in a real plane. Basically, normally in a real plane, you have airflow going over that rudder, so when you push it left or right, there's a little bit of resistance. So what Josh and Noah are doing right now is they're adding bungees that will hopefully give it that same feel of resistance and also help you feel where the center point is so you're not flying around with full left or right rudder. How's it going, guys?
It's going awesome. It's awesome. Check this out.
Nice.
So Noah, tell them what you did here.
So pretty much we had these two connected at first. It twisted and did some really bad things, so I went back to the hardware store, grabbed some of these T brackets, and we pretty much separated them.
Originally it was just like a friction fit right here, kind of causing drag, but this part not being here was allowing them to kind of kink things, and now it was twisting. All this is glued down now, and since it's two separate pedals like it should be, this also acts as drag, and instead of using stoppers, what we can do now, we can take the tension off of these, we can loosen these nuts, and wherever this needs to stop, it'll impact here, and it'll lock it, just like the end travels on your real airplane. So we just gotta time it to the potentiometer to make sure the throw, this mechanism is given the right amount of throw, and that way we'll have full resolution, and we're ready to hook it up to a plane.
Nice, that looks so awesome.
It's so cool, look at that. Here's how this works. So we have the elevator, we have our ailerons, we have our rudder pedals, and of course we'll lock this down, and then last but not least, we have our throttle. And then, what do you think, Stefan?
Yeah, dude.
And then let's check our mode switches. Here's aerobatic mode, level assist mode, and then no gyros at all. Let's see if it goes into launch assist. There it is. So now all I have to do is just go, it'll just take off on its own.
Okay, so if you guys didn't pick up on that, this little simple cup that Josh is gonna be flying is gonna be carrying our new FT Aura light board, which if you're not familiar with, it's actually a flight controller that we made in collaboration with an awesome company called Flex Innovation. And the cool thing about it is it works with all major transmitters. Now, if you're not familiar with a flight control board, it's gonna give you functionality like 3-axis mode, which is my personal favorite. Basically, the plane is still full manual control, just like a real airplane, but it has onboard accelerometers and gyros that helps you compensate for things like wind gusts. It just makes the plane feel more precise in the air. But beyond that, it also has features like launch assist, which is what Josh was just testing, and it allows you to basically take off hands-free, so you can focus on learning how to fly. You don't have to worry about the stress of taking off. Once you get it up in the air, it also has really cool functionality called level assist, and basically what that means is you can fly it just like normal, but when you let go of the control stick, the wings on the airplane are automatically going to slowly go back to level, which really helps if you're trying to learn how to fly. So in our particular case, the coolest function functionality of the Aura light board is it saves the preset on the plane actually. So when you bind it up, you don't have to retune it and reset all of your settings. It saves it on board with the plane. So every time we bind a new plane to this wacky FPV cockpit, we're not gonna have to set it up because it'll be set up on the plane itself.
Isn't it? The throttle. I think we're ready to take this guy out and see how she flies. It's windy, but I mean, let's try it.
Listen, let's go for it. I'm always down with that. Hey, great work, bro. That's awesome.
Okay, so you heard the man. It is time to go fly, my favorite part of the day. And the guys are out there getting the FPV cockpit set up, and we are about to take flight with this awesome little Simple Cub. But before we do so, I wanted to take this time and ask you guys to consider subscribing. Subscribing is free. It helps us do projects like this, as well as making all these videos for you guys over the years. So for all of our subscribers out there, we cannot be thankful enough. Thank you guys so much for being along with us on this journey. And if you watch our videos and you enjoy them and you're not subscribed yet, please, please, please consider hitting that little subscribe button. Also the notification bell. It's free. It's gonna notify you every time we come out with a new video. And like I said, it helps us continue to make these videos for you in the future. So let's head out onto the field and let's see how Josh does with this cockpit. Looking forward to it. Okay, man.
You ready to try
Dude,
this?
look at you, man. We got this all set up.
I feel like a professional.
So you got stick, which is your aileron and pitch.
Yep, we got our aileron pitch, we got our rudder pedals,
PVC rudders.
and then we got our throttle. You getting clear? And I
How
got
does it feel? It looks like a real airplane.
So I know your dad has an Aranca, and I flew a Pete and Pull. This feels just like stick and rudder, all the way right down to the throttle quadrant and the mode switches.
Probably a
I
little
hope
more
it works.
comfortable with that Secret Lab chair than a Pete and Pull chair.
A lot quieter and a lot better visibility too. Yeah, no doubt. So,
All right, man. Well, this is the first experience. So we have the Simple Cup all worked up here. We have the DJI system going. Josh is going to be flying from the cockpit, just like a real airplane.
I'm gonna just commit for the beginning. I'm not gonna try the line of sight thing, okay?
You're going all in.
Yeah, the wind is real.
Yeah, we got a little bit of wind today.
Alrighty.
But I think it's going to be fine. We have the Aura light on this Simple Cub, so I think it's going to be good.
Got my feet on the rudder pedals here. Feel kind of centered up. Right, left, up, down.
I'm a little bit nervous, man. You feeling good?
I feel pretty good about this. We got throttle. All
right, man.
What's left to do to try it, right?
All right, buddy. Good luck.
You ready to try this? You gonna launch me?
FPV cockpit, take one. Let's
Take
see how
one,
it
here we
works.
go. Whoa!
Wow. Talk about a climb out.
Dude, it's real!
Dang it, the wind picked up right when you took off too.
It feels just like flying a real airplane. You get bumped with something and you gotta react. Oh my gosh, this is incredible!
Awesome. Yeah, the amount of input that you're putting on the stick is like substantial compared to what we're used to doing with just our thumbs.
Look at the way that the wind is carrying me. I mean, the wind is real. We have an Aura 5 in this, and it's definitely blocking out a ton of the wind, but you can't help when you get hit with something huge.
Yeah, you can see right there, you're turning the wind. You're just parked like right above us right now.
I wish, man, heart monitor needs to be added to the flight test thing because my heart is racing right now. I can't disconnect the fact that I'm not flying a real plane because everything in my hands is there. All right,
Thanks, man.
All right.
You're doing a great job.
Thanks. I'm gonna do something, okay? We got to do a roll.
Oh, boy,
3,
here we
2,
go.
1.
Nice.
We got to
Cub's got a pretty snappy roll rate there.
We got to push this to the limits here. All right, so let's fly the course here. Let's just kind of cruise around. I'm gonna come up behind you guys and get her into the wind. Take her for a low pass.
Ooh, nice. I always love a good low pass, especially with a Cub.
The one thing I'm really missing is I want to feel some feedback on the rudder pedals because that's what you feel in an airplane, and I'm not getting any of that. So.
Oh, interesting. So like finding your center point.
Correct. Yeah. And really getting used to these rudder controls is definitely.
Oh, look at you going behind the trees.
It's not that hard, Alex. You're gonna have to try this, man. All right, challenge me, buddy. What do we gotta try?
See if you can bring it down the runway. You got a strong crosswind, so you can see if you can crab it.
All right. It's gonna take, for crabbing, we're gonna need to use some rudder, and we're gonna also need to use aileron and pitch. So let's see here. We'll get over this. All right, here we go.
Nice. You're about, towards the end there, you're about probably 12 feet or 15 feet up.
I may crash this, but I'm just gonna try to keep it low here. That wind is definitely real up high.
Yeah, as soon
That's
as you
fine.
get above the tree line, we're in a valley here, so as soon as you get above that tree line, it definitely gets a little intense.
It's like that with paramotors too.
There's some bumps right there. Did you feel
Oh
that?
yeah, big time.
So we just put in the new pavilion and the fireplace over at Ready Made RC Runway. You want to see if you can shoot that gap coming right down over the fire pit?
Yeah. Worst case scenario, we pick up the pieces together, right?
We can just throw them right in the fire pit.
The wind is real. The wind is real. This is crazy.
It is really bumpy there, dude.
Whoa!
Look at this control inputs. Oh, dang, man. That's a nice gap there.
It is an awesome gap. Whoa.
We're gonna have to ignite that fire and shoot the
fly it?
fire gap sometime. Dude, I think it's safe to say that the first version 1.0 FPV cockpit is a success.
I agree.
I mean, you're flying it like a boss right now.
It feels so much like the real thing.
How about inverted? Have you tried inverted yet?
No, but I will. Ready? All right, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Whoa! Look how much forward deflection I gotta hold.
Yeah.
How's that?
Dude, you're just like pretty shameless. So how's it feel inverted sitting in a chair?
It feels natural, but really freaky because you only feel this in real airplanes, and being on the throttle.
That was awesome, man.
Oh, I love flying out here.
I'd imagine that flying inverted is probably easier in FPV than it is line of sight.
It is, because you don't have to think, okay, this is forward, backward. You instantly know the control input you got to put to make it. What I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of flying. I'm ignoring the black runway. I'm just kind of flying into the wind. That's low voltage. All right, we got to put her down, right?
All right, yeah, he's coming in on fumes here. He's got an empty tank.
I'm gonna try to not hit anybody, but I'm also gonna try to put it on the runway.
Oh wow.
We took it off.
Strong crosswind, but I believe in you. You got this.
Thanks.
Here he comes, coming in for a landing.
Don't hit people, right?
We're too low, Cougar. We're too low, Cougar. Give me some power. Some more power. Power.
Oh, and we flipped it.
Dang, you were so close. That was really close to being a great landing. Oh, look,
my gosh.
Perfect.
Oh, perfect. Thanks,
Blew
Maddie.
right over. The wind took care of you.
Alice, you're gonna love this, man. There are some real challenges. One thing is feeling the throttle. Typically when you're in an airplane, when you give the throttle, you have the gauges in front of you and you feel the speed and the vibration. You can't feel any of that, which is definitely kind of disheartening. And then the rudder pedals. But the rudder pedals, you kind of have a heavy leg, and typically when you're flying through the air is pushing back on the rudder and kind of self-centering, and you can kind of feel it in the seat of your pants. None of that exists right now. So what we need to really kind of do is to practice, frankly, and to hopefully get to where we can either overcome that or tune that out, because our next step, I think we're gonna have an epic competition, right?
Yeah, guys, make sure you subscribe, because we're doing projects like this all the time, and specifically with this, we want to keep developing this FPV cockpit, and we're gonna be doing more videos with it, so stay tuned for that. We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.